Good afternoon. This is All India Radio. I am Saira Mujtaba and with me is Anuja Kumar with the Midday News. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi chairs a meeting on the COVID situation in the country. Health and Family Welfare Minister Dr. Harshvardhan says India has launched the largest vaccination drive in the world. Cabinet Secretary to chair a meeting with Chief Secretaries of 10 states and Union Territories to discuss the availability of medical oxygen. 6-day lockdown in the national capital from tonight, essential services to remain functional. Country registers over 2,73,000 fresh COVID-19 cases. Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Package insurance policy claims of COVID warriors to be settled till 24th of this month. Polling underway for the second phase of Panchayat elections in 20 districts of Uttar Pradesh. Campaigning for the sixth phase of Assembly elections in West Bengal to conclude this evening. Silence period extended for 72 hours. Air Force Chief R.K. Bhadoria embarks on a 5-day visit to France. Hong Kong suspends all flights from India for 14 days beginning tomorrow amidst a spike in COVID cases in the region. And in IPL cricket, Chennai Super Kings to clash with Rajasthan Royals today. As the number of COVID cases is on the rise again, we appeal to our listeners not to lower their guard, take all precautions, and all those above 45 years to get vaccinated without any hesitation. Stay safe and protected by following these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. And now the news. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is chairing an important meeting today on the COVID-related situation in the country. The senior officials of the Health Ministry are present in the meeting. The Prime Minister had on Saturday reviewed the COVID and vaccination situation in a crucial meet where he called for putting up a more vigorous fight to defeat the second wave of the pandemic. The Cabinet Secretary has today convened a meeting at 3 p.m. with Chief Secretaries of 10 states and 1 Union Territory to discuss the issue of availability and supply of medical oxygen. Chief Secretaries and senior officials from the state of Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh, Uttar Pradesh, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka and from the Union Territory of Delhi will be participating in the meeting. The Union Home Secretary had yesterday written to all states and Union Territories in the country to prohibit the supply of oxygen for industrial purposes by manufacturers and suppliers. This direction comes in order to divert the oxygen to meet its growing demand by the healthcare facilities due to surge in COVID cases.
The centre has prohibited the supply of oxygen for industrial purposes by manufacturers and suppliers from the 22nd of this month till further orders. Union Health Ministry said that the matter was deliberated by the Department for Promotion of Industry and Internal Trade with all the stakeholders, and after due deliberations it was considered prudent to restrict the industrial usage of oxygen to meet the rising demand for medical oxygen. It said the surplus oxygen available as a result of this temporary restriction will facilitate its freeing up for use as medical oxygen for treatment of COVID-19 patients. The ministry said this prohibition, however, shall not apply to the supply of oxygen for 9 industries. These are ampoules and vials pharmaceutical, petroleum refineries, steel plants, nuclear energy facilities, oxygen cylinder manufacturers, waste water treatment plants, food and water purification and process industries, which require uninterrupted operation of furnaces. Indian Farmers Fertilizer Cooperative Limited IFCO is going to set up an oxygen plant with 200 cubic meters per hour capacity in its Gujarat's Kalol unit. It will provide free oxygen to hospitals suffering from a shortage of oxygen amidst the unprecedented surge of COVID-19 infections. The plant will generate medical-grade oxygen and fill 700 big D-type cylinders daily and also 300 medium B-size cylinders on demand, which will be supplied to all the hospitals free. The hospitals need to bring their own cylinders for a refill. A security deposit will be taken if cylinders will be taken from IFCO in order to avoid hoarding of oxygen. Several states in the country are facing a severe shortage of oxygen for medical use amid the second wave of COVID-19 cases.
The dedicated COVID hospital re-established by Defence Research and Development Organisation (DRDO) is operational from today. The hospital has been established near Domestic Airport Terminal in New Delhi. It has 500 ICU beds. Union Health Minister Dr. Harshvardhan said that 250 beds will be ready by today and it will be increased to 500 within a few days. In a tweet, he said all beds are equipped with oxygen facility and sufficient number of ventilators are available. A medical team drawn from the armed forces will look after the facility. The facility will be available free of cost. The person requiring medical facility in this hospital needs to bring RT-PCR COVID positive report and Aadhaar card. There will be a large number of monitoring equipment, ventilators, basic testing facilities and air conditioning in this hospital as per the WHO standards. Railways has converted 4,002 train coaches as COVID-19 care-cum-isolation facilities to assist the state governments facing shortage of beds in their states. These coaches will be allocated to state governments on request. Minister of Railways Piyush Goyal took to Twitter to post a few pictures of the railway coaches converted to COVID-19 care centres in Maharashtra's Nandurbar. Railways has deployed 94 coaches in Maharashtra's Nandurbar. These coaches will be used by the state government when they exhaust their own medical facilities. Northern Railways has deployed 50 isolation coaches at Delhi's Shakur Basti railway station and 25 such facilities will be placed at Anand Vihar. This development came after the Delhi government requested railways to arrange up to 5,000 beds in view of the rising coronavirus cases in the national capital.
Health and Family Welfare Minister Dr. Harshvardhan has said that India has launched the world's largest vaccination drive and also became the fastest in the world to reach the milestones of 10 to 12 crore administered doses. In a reply to the former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh's letter, he said the emphasis laid by Dr. Singh on vaccination as an important tool to fight COVID-19 is well taken by the government. Dr. Harshvardhan said history will be kinder to Dr. Manmohan Singh if his offer of constructive cooperation and valuable advice was followed by the Congress leader in such an extraordinary time. The minister said it is shocking that senior members of the Congress party are yet to utter a single word of gratitude towards our scientist community and vaccine manufacturers. He said many Congress members and Congress-ruled state governments have taken interest in spreading falsehoods regarding the efficacy of these vaccines, thereby fueling vaccine hesitancy and playing with the lives of our countrymen. Former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh had written a letter to Prime Minister Narendra Modi suggesting ways to tackle the COVID-19 situation in the country. Terming the pandemic an unprecedented emergency, Dr. Singh has suggested for expansion of coverage of COVID vaccination program in the country. The Delhi government has decided to impose a 6-day long lockdown in the national capital to contain the rapid rise of COVID-19 cases. After a meeting with the Lieutenant Governor today, Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal announced that the lockdown will come into effect from 10 tonight and will continue till 5 in the morning on the 26th of this month.
आज सभी परिस्थितियों का जायजा लेने के बाद आपकी सरकार को ये लगता है कि दिल्ली में कुछ दिन के लिए लॉकडाउन लगाना जरूरी है, तो आज रात को 10 बजे से अगले सोमवार को सुबह 5 बजे तक 6 दिन के लिए दिल्ली में लॉकडाउन लगाया जा रहा है। इस दौरान जाहिर है कि जो एसेंशियल सर्विसेज हैं वो जारी रहेंगी, खाने पीने की, मेडिकल व्यवस्थाओं की वो जारी रहेंगी। ये शादियों का सीजन है, लोगों के बड़े मुश्किल से रिश्ते बनते हैं, हम उनके रिश्ते तोड़ना नहीं चाहते, तो लोगों की शादियां संपन्न हो, लेकिन केवल 50 लोगों के गैदरिंग के साथ संपन्न हो, उसके लिए अलग से पास दिए जाएंगे।
He said people engaged in essential services and facing emergency conditions will be allowed for movement during the lockdown on producing the valid documents. He urged the migrant labourers not to leave Delhi due to the lockdown.
पिछली बार जब देश में लॉकडाउन लगा था, हमने देखा कि किस तरह बड़ी संख्या में प्रवासी मजदूर अपने गांव जाने लगे थे। उनसे मैं खास तौर से हाथ जोड़ के अपील करना चाहता हूं, ये छोटा सा लॉकडाउन है, 6 दिन का, दिल्ली छोड़ के मत जाइएगा। आपके आने जाने में इतना समय खराब हो जाएगा, इतना पैसा खराब हो जाएगा, इतनी ऊर्जा खराब होती है। दिल्ली में रहिए। मुझे उम्मीद है कि ये छोटा लॉकडाउन है और छोटा ही रहेगा। मुझे पूरी उम्मीद है कि शायद बढ़ाने की जरूरत ना पड़े।
Expressing concern over the rising cases of coronavirus in the city, the Chief Minister said health facilities are witnessing shortage of several medical supplies like beds, oxygen and medicines. He said the lockdown period will be utilized for creating health infrastructure in the national capital. He thanked the central government for providing a helping hand in this situation of crisis. He urged the people to follow the COVID-19 appropriate behavior and guidelines to contain the spread of this infectious disease.
Coronavirus infection has broken all the previous records in the national capital. Delhi is registering the highest number of cases since the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic. Yesterday, over 25,000 fresh cases were reported in Delhi and the positivity rate touched an all-time high figure of 30%. At present, city health facilities are facing shortage of several essential medical supplies. However, Delhi government has intensified its efforts to arrange the additional bed facilities, medical oxygen supplies and drugs. Delhi government has decided to directly monitor the entire procurement and distribution process of remdesivir injections and medical oxygens. All drug inspectors have been directed to ensure daily monitoring of the stocks and sale of tocilizumab and favipiravir to restrict black marketing and to ensure sufficient stocks in the city. In addition, several schools, banquet halls and sport complexes have been turned into a COVID care centers. These centers will provide additional bed facilities to COVID patients. Bhupendra Singh, AIR News, Delhi.
India has administered over 12 crore 38 lakh COVID-19 vaccine doses in the country so far. The Union Health Ministry said that more than 12 lakh 30,000 beneficiaries were inoculated with COVID-19 vaccine doses in the last 24 hours. A total number of 2,73,810 new cases were reported in the country in the last 24 hours, taking the cumulative positive cases to over 1 crore 50 lakhs. The Health Ministry said 1,619 deaths were also reported during the last 24 hours, taking the toll to over 1,78,000 across the country. The country's COVID-19 recovery rate is at 86%, with recovery of more than 1,44,000 patients in the last 24 hours. The ministry said that more than 1 crore 29 lakh patients have already recovered from the disease. Presently, the total number of active cases in the country is over 19,29,000, which comprises of 12.81% of total positive cases. The Indian Council of Medical Research said that various laboratories have conducted more than 13,56,000 tests of coronavirus samples in the last 24 hours. BJP President JP Nadda has asked party functionaries to launch Apna Booth Corona Mukt campaign amid huge surge in COVID-19 cases across the country. He asked all the office bearers and workers to start a massive preventive drive against COVID at booth level by doing sanitization, holding a cleanliness drive and a public awareness campaign. The BJP president held a virtual meeting of the party national office bearers and state unit presidents to discuss the growing cases of COVID in the country. He asked them to urge the people to strictly follow COVID guidelines and fight unitedly against the pandemic.
You are listening to the Midday News on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi chairs a meeting on the COVID situation in the country. Health and Family Welfare Minister Dr. Harshvardhan says India has launched the largest vaccination drive in the world. Cabinet Secretary to chair a meeting with Chief Secretaries of 10 states and Union territories to discuss the availability of medical oxygen. 6-day lockdown in the national capital from tonight, essential services to remain functional. Country registers over 2,73,000 COVID-19 fresh cases. Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan package insurance policy claims of COVID warriors to be settled till 24th of this month. Polling underway for the second phase of Panchayat elections in 20 districts of Uttar Pradesh. Campaigning for the sixth phase of assembly elections in West Bengal to conclude this evening. The silence period extended for 72 hours. Air Force Chief R.K.S. Bhadauria embarks on a 5-day visit to France. Hong Kong suspends all flights from India for 14 days beginning tomorrow amidst a spike in COVID cases in the region. And in IPL cricket, Chennai Super Kings to clash with Rajasthan Royals today. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
चलो मिलकर एक शुरुआत करें, चलो एक फैसला आज करें, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे, चलो एक इरादा करते हैं, चलो कुछ वादा करते हैं, मास्क नहीं तो टोकेंगे, कोरोना को रोकेंगे.
Welcome back. You're listening to the Midday News. The Maharashtra government has termed 5 states including Delhi, Rajasthan, Uttarakhand, Gujarat, Goa and Kerala as places of sensitive origin pertaining to the ongoing pandemic. The state government has issued strong guidelines for people arriving from these places to the state. More from our correspondent.
Under the Maharashtra government's Break the Chain initiative, the state has issued SOPs for people arriving from 5 states including Kerala, Goa, Rajasthan, Gujarat, Uttarakhand and Delhi where cases of COVID-19 are high. The order said it will be responsibility of the railway authorities and local disaster management authority to ensure that SOPs are adhered to. The order stated standard COVID appropriate behavior is mandatory for all, failing which fines will be levied. Besides, it has also instructed the concerned authorities to ensure exclusive thermal screening and separate exit gates at all stations for passengers arriving from the 5 states. The order has also asked the railways to share the data of all the passengers embarking at stations with local disaster management authority at least 4 hours prior to departure of the trains from its place of origin. Besides, it has also advised local disaster management authority to plan along with MSRTC or local bus transport officers to take these passengers for onward journeys. It also said the passengers will need RT-PCR negative tests within 48 hours of travel and will have to stay 15 days at home for quarantine. Devopriya Bhattacharjee, AIR News, Mumbai.
In Chhattisgarh, several steps are being taken by the state government to curb the rise of COVID-19 cases. Arrangements are also being strengthened for the treatment of COVID patients. Emphasis is being laid on extension of health facilities to inaccessible and remote areas of the state. Special focus is being given to setting up of COVID care centers, quarantine centers, testing facilities as well as vaccination drive. Continuous availability of medical oxygen is also being ensured for better treatment of COVID patients in the state. According to the state government, currently 243 metric tons of medical oxygen is available. Production has started from the newly built oxygen plant at the Medical College of Jagdalpur in tribal Bastar district. State Health Minister T.S. Singhdev said that adequate arrangement of beds with oxygen facility is being ensured in government hospitals.
कोविड के प्रबंधन के लिए सरकारी और निजी दोनों क्षेत्रों में व्यवस्था की जा रही है. सरकारी क्षेत्र में हमने करीब 13,000 ऑक्सीजन के बिस्तरों का लक्ष्य रखा है. उनकी पूर्ति के लिए काम हो रहे हैं. आईसीयू बिस्तरों के बढ़ाने के लिए पहल हो रही है. साथ ही ऑक्सीजन के जंबो सिलेंडर्स की व्यवस्था, ऑक्सीजन इंडस्ट्रियल ग्रेड जो बन रहा था उसको मेडिकल ग्रेड के बनाने के डायरेक्शन और उनके दर निर्धारण जो पहले से थे और ट्रांसपोर्टेशन के खर्चे, ये जो भी व्यवस्थाएं हैं ये सारी सरकार अपने तरफ से कर रही है.
12,345 new cases of COVID-19 infected patients were identified in Chhattisgarh yesterday. 170 people succumbed to COVID-19 in the last 24 hours.
Telangana has reported 4,009 fresh COVID-19 cases during the last 24 hours, with 1,878 more people recovering from COVID-19. The total recoveries in the state have gone up to 3,14,441. As the fresh cases being reported in large numbers across the state, the recovery rate in the state has come down to 88.46% from over 98% a month ago. In view of the rapid surge in COVID cases in West Bengal, the state government is going to announce further steps to control and contain the pandemic. The Chief Secretary of the state, Allapan Bandyopadhyay, is holding a meeting with the top officials of the state administration today. Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee has instructed the top officials to make elaborate arrangements and step up their efforts to deal with the situation. In a tweet this morning, CM Mamata Banerjee said that the state government is taking all necessary steps to protect its people. She had sent another letter to Prime Minister Narendra Modi last evening and sought help from the centre to ensure steady supply of vaccines and required medicines at the earliest. The state recorded 8,419 new COVID cases with 28 more fatalities in the past 24 hours.
Puducherry Lieutenant Governor Dr. Tamilisai Soundararajan has said that localized lockdown without affecting the public may be imposed at the identified hotspots where the number of COVID-19 positive cases increases rapidly. A report.
Dr. Tamilisai Soundararajan inaugurated a COVID-19 vaccination and testing center in Nehru Street. She said that testing and vaccination camps will be undertaken in the places where 100 people are working. She further added that mobile vaccination vans are already pressed into service to administer vaccines to the public in the crowded places. The government and the private hospitals are fully equipped with adequate arrangements like beds, ventilators, medicines, etc. Meanwhile, the Health Secretary Dr. Arun said that a special vaccination camps has been arranged in many places. According to the Health Department, 155,209 persons inoculated in the whole UT so far. This includes 30,202 health workers, 17,961 frontline workers and 1,07,046 general public. Chandra Mohan, ER News, Puducherry.
The government has said that claims of Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Package PMGKP insurance policy of COVID warriors will continue to be settled till the 24th of April this year. It said thereafter a fresh insurance policy for COVID warriors will become effective. The Health Ministry said PMGKP was announced in March last year and it was extended thrice till 24th of April. The policy was launched to provide a safety net to the health workers fighting COVID-19 to ensure that in case of any adversity due to COVID-19, their families are taken care of. Insurance cover of 50 lakh rupees is provided under the PMGKP scheme. The ministry said this has provided a safety net to the dependents of the COVID warriors who lost their lives to COVID. 287 claims have been paid by the insurance company so far.
The government has termed as misleading a headline of a news report which claims that India's double mutation COVID virus variant is worrying the world. Press Information Bureau clarified that the double mutation has been found in several other countries as well. Hong Kong has announced the suspension of all flights connecting with India for 14 days starting Tuesday amidst the rising number of COVID-19 cases in the region. The authorities have also suspended flights from Pakistan and the Philippines. This comes hours after Hong Kong had invoked a flight-specific suspension mechanism to prohibit the landing of flights operated by two airlines, including one Vistara flight from Mumbai.
Voting for the second phase of Panchayat polls is progressing peacefully in 20 districts of Uttar Pradesh. Votes will be cast till 6 in the evening. Strict adherence to the COVID protocol during polling has been issued by the State Election Commission because of the growing number of COVID cases in the state. The districts where votes are being cast today include Lucknow, Varanasi, Azamgarh, Etawah, Chitrakoot, Baghpat, Muzaffarnagar, Gautam Budh Nagar, Bijnor, Amroha, Badaयूं, Eta, Mainpuri, Kannauj, Lalitpur, Pratapgarh, Sultanpur, Lakhimpur Kheri, Gonda and Maharajganj. Our Lucknow correspondent reports that more than 3,23 lakh voters are expected to exercise their franchise in 20 districts and 52,623 polling booths have been prepared for this. In poll-bound West Bengal, the high decibel electioneering campaign for the sixth phase of assembly elections reaches a crescendo before its conclusion this evening. In view of rising cases of COVID-19, the Election Commission decided to curtail the campaign timing for the remaining 3 phases of 8-phased assembly elections. The Commission banned campaigning from 7 p.m. to 10 a.m. on all days. It also extended the silence period from 48 hours to 72 hours before polling for the remaining phases, and as a result, the campaign will end this evening. The poll body took a serious view against the repeated violations of COVID-19 norms by political leaders, campaigners and candidates. The polling process is already over in respect of 180 out of the total 294 assembly seats in the earlier 5 phases. The election campaign has now gained momentum for the 7th as well as the 8th and final phase of the assembly elections, with prominent leaders of different political parties engaging in whirlwind tours for canvassing in favor of their candidates.
Marking the continuity of growing bilateral defence cooperation with the French Air and Space Force, Air Chief Marshal R.K. Bhadoria left for France today on a 5-day official visit. The visit will enhance potential avenues for strengthening the level of interaction between the Indian and French Air Forces. During his visit, the Chief of Air Staff will hold meetings and discussions with senior military leadership of France and visit operational facilities and air bases. The two air forces have seen significant operational interaction in the recent past. National award-winning Marathi filmmaker Sumitra Bhave passed away today in Pune. She was 78. She was suffering from age-related illness for some time. After the popularity of early short films like Bai and Pani, she made her first full-length film Dogi in 1995, following which her films Dahavif, Vastu Purush, Devarai, Badha, Nital, Ek Cup Cha, Go Mala Asla Hava, Kasav and Astu were released. Her films were acclaimed at international film festivals and many films have won state and national awards too.
In IPL cricket, Chennai Super Kings will take on Rajasthan Royals at Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai today. Yesterday, Delhi Capitals defeated Punjab Kings by 6 wickets at Wankhede Stadium in Mumbai. Chasing a victory target of 196 runs, Delhi Capitals made 198 for 4 in 18.2 overs. In the other match yesterday, Virat Kohli-led Royal Challengers Bangalore defeated Owen Morgan-led Kolkata Knight Riders by 38 runs in Chennai. Chasing a massive target of 205 runs, KKR kept losing wickets at regular intervals and could not build a winning partnership.
World Championship silver medalist Deepak Punia had to settle for silver medal in the Asian Wrestling Championships in Almaty, Kazakhstan yesterday. Deepak, who has already secured a place in Olympics, lost 10-0 in 2 minutes 53 seconds to the world champion Hassan Yazdani in the 86 kg freestyle final. Sanjeet bagged bronze for India in the 92 kg category. He lost to Uzbekistan's Rustam Shodiev 8-11. India thus ended the Asian Championships with 7 medals in the men's freestyle event and overall tally of 5 gold, 3 silver and 6 bronze medals.
And now let's take a look at the weather forecast for the day. The national capital, Delhi, will have a mainly clear sky, becoming partly cloudy towards the afternoon or evening, with maximum temperature rising to 37 degrees Celsius. It recorded a minimum of 19 degrees Celsius. Mumbai will have a mainly clear sky. Maximum temperature will be around 35 degrees Celsius, while it registered a minimum of 25 degrees Celsius. Chennai will have a partly cloudy sky with maximum temperature rising to 37 degrees Celsius from minimum of 28 degrees. Kolkata will have a partly cloudy sky with possibility of thunder lightning. Maximum temperature is expected to be 37 degrees Celsius with minimum temperature recorded 26 degrees. Srinagar will have a mainly clear sky becoming partly cloudy towards the afternoon or evening. Maximum temperature will be around 18 degrees Celsius while the minimum was 8 degrees. Jammu will have a partly cloudy sky becoming generally cloudy towards the afternoon or evening. Maximum temperature will be around 31 degrees Celsius while the minimum was 17 degrees Celsius. Leh will have a mainly clear sky. Maximum temperature will be around 9 degrees Celsius. The minimum temperature was -1 degree. Gilgit is expected to have a generally cloudy sky with light rain or drizzle. Maximum temperature will be around 15 degrees Celsius while the minimum temperature recorded was 9.5 degrees. Muzaffarabad will have a mainly clear sky becoming partly cloudy towards the afternoon or evening. Temperature will rise from a minimum of 11 degrees Celsius to a maximum of 25 degrees. Dehradun will have a mainly clear sky. Maximum temperature will be around 35 degrees Celsius while minimum would be 16 degrees Celsius. Chandigarh will have a mainly clear sky with maximum temperature of 37 degrees Celsius. Minimum temperature was 20 degrees Celsius. And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi chairs a meeting on the COVID situation in the country. Health and Family Welfare Minister Dr. Harshvardhan says India has launched the largest vaccination drive in the world. Cabinet Secretary to chair a meeting with Chief Secretaries of 10 states and Union Territories to discuss the availability of medical oxygen. 6-day lockdown in the national capital from tonight. Essential services to remain functional. Country registers over 2,73,000 fresh COVID-19 cases. Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Package insurance policy claims of COVID warriors to be settled till 24th of this month. Polling underway for the second phase of Panchayat elections in 20 districts of Uttar Pradesh. Campaigning for the 6th phase of assembly elections in West Bengal to conclude this evening. Silence period extended for 72 hours. Air Force Chief R.K. Bhadoria embarks on a 5-day visit to France. Hong Kong suspends all flights from India for 14 days beginning tomorrow amidst a spike in COVID cases in the region. And in IPL cricket, Chennai Super Kings to clash with Rajasthan Royals today. For details of these stories and more, log on to our website www.newsonair.com and News on AIR app. And with that, we end the Midday News.